Hello everyone, welcome to Module 4, Week 4 of our class in Healthcare Finance. And I'm going to go over in this video a little bit about what we're doing this week. And I want to introduce you to a very important resource that I think all students should know about and use. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into what we're going to be discussing this week before we talk about that wonderful resource. So this week, a little bit of a break. I know last week was tough. You had those multiple parts and a midterm. This is going to be a little bit of an easier week for you. We only have one part this week, part 5. We're going to be talking about capital structure and the budgeting process. Very important, especially for frontline managers who are engaged in the budgeting process. We'll have our normal learning activity, and we'll have a progress journal. If you remember way back in the beginning of the course, we had a progress journal. This week, let's take a look at it. This week we have a progress journal. Remember, that's the progress journals are a way for us to communicate. A lot of ways for us to communicate in this course. This is another one where I can get some feedback from you and really find out what we're doing right in the course, what I'm doing wrong in the course, what you want to see in the course. What I do ask is that you, at least at a minimum, address the questions that are here, and then you can talk about whatever you want beyond this. But if you could please, I'm really curious about what degree you're pursuing, why you're pursuing it. I always like to touch base with all the learners in the class on that one. How do you feel you're doing in the course so far? Look at your grades, make sure it matches the reality. Most students, it does match the reality. But take a look at your points. I think by and far, this is a tremendously strong class. You guys are doing a phenomenal job. Great job. Some of the strongest performance I've ever seen on the learning activities. Fantastic work there. So I think everybody should be pretty pleased where they're at this point. And then also, if there's any other finance topics you would like to see covered before the course ends, please let me know if there's something that maybe I missed or something at work you're constantly seeing. I might have enough time to craft maybe a small video or some sort of project or assignment. I'll make it easy, don't worry, but like you're asking for more work. But if there is something you'd like to see, let me know. Now, when I say finance, there's always a few students who get this confused with personal finance. We're not going to talk about your retirement plans. This is really, this is about healthcare finance, corporate finance with a healthcare perspective. We do offer a course, a personal finance course. If you're interested in that, I run that class pretty much every semester. Got one running right now. A great group of students in there. But that's more for the personal side, retirement plans, purchasing a home, those kind of things. So I always get a few students who want to say, I want to learn about how to buy a home. Well, that's not really what we're covering in this class. But if you have any of those kind of corporate topics that you'd like, please let me know, okay? Because I really, really value your feedback as we go through the course to make it better, make it what you want. As I said also in the beginning, I tailor this course to your needs. Every time I run this course, it's completely different. Well, basics are the same, but there's always, each class has a little different nuance and change with assignments or how we pace things or added content or removed content. So I really value your opinion on that. All right, so that's what's going on this week. Again, relatively easier week for you. All right, so with that, hold on, don't hang up on me yet. And let's talk about something that you may have seen, but maybe you haven't checked out. And that is SmartThinking. If you've noticed in the top of every one of your courses, when you go into the module section, we already have preloaded in every course the SmartThinking online tutorial. How many of you have actually gone in and looked at it? I highly suggest that you go in and look at what's available to you. You may think, oh, I'll never need a tutor. Well, maybe in this class you might not need a tutor. But there could be some other classes where you need a tutor. And I can tell you, as far as writing help, everybody can use a little bit of writing help. I love using tutors. I look at them as kind of like a second pair of eyes and editors in some of the academic work that I do. So absolutely, I think it's, you know, we're not, all of us can use a little bit of, I guess, a second opinion, if you will. But let's take a look at what Smart Thinking has to offer. And the best thing to do is just jump in there and play around. It does a quick system check in here. I use Chrome. And I'm going to log in as a student so we can kind of see what the student-facing menu looks like. We'll give it a second here. There we go. All right, so Smart Thinking is kind of divided into different disciplines, different topics that you can use. The biggest one by and far is the Writing Center. Most of our students that use Smart Thinking, a large percentage of them use the Writing Center, which is what we expected. It is the area most students struggle with the most. So yes, great resource for you here. But the way the Writing Center works is that you'll be able to submit a project that you're working on, and the tutor will respond back to you, give you some, they won't rewrite your paper for you. I think you know that. But they're going to tell you, you know, hey, this needs some clarity here, you know, or this area here needs to be more concise. This paragraph, not fully developed, needs supporting information, that kind of stuff. And that's really valuable information. Then you can go in and fix it, okay? And there's different ways that you can interact with your tutor. You can, most of our students that use Smart Thinking, they'll interact with the tutor on a email basis. You know, you submit something, you wait, you get it back, you'll have notes in there, something called track changes, you might see that used, where you'll see those recommendations on your paper. That's probably the most, the way that most students interact because it just kind of fits with their lifestyle. You can do live sessions with a tutor through something similar to like a Skype, where you have kind of a you know, whiteboard situation, you know, kind of like a camera type deal. So that's up to you. Not as many students do that, but that is available for you if you like that. So long story short, there's a lot of different ways to interact with your tutor, whether it's in writing or some of the other topic areas. Now let's take a look at some of those other topic areas, because I think it's important, yes, to know what the, you know, to know about the Writing Center, but let's look at the supporting areas there. We'll click on that, let that load. Okay, there we go. All right, you can see you got drop-in sessions. You can do like quick one-off sessions. You can schedule a session. You know, you can ask a question. There's so many different ways to work with these tutors. You got the discipline menu. These are the different areas. Math, science, Spanish. We don't offer Spanish classes here, but maybe if you needed it, it's there. Nursing. Did you know that you have an online nursing tutor for those of you that are in the nursing program? And with each one of these areas, there's going to be subcategories. So you can try to find the tutor that matches the particular type of question that you're dealing with. The Writing Center, which I've already talked about. Business. A lot of the courses I teach, obviously, are business courses. There's a whole business section in there for you. Computers and technology. Now this is really neat because it is not necessarily related to a computer course. You know, let's say you're not taking a programming course. This is actually more of support for any course that you're taking. What do I mean by that? Let's say, for example, that you are working on a presentation and you're really stuck on something with PowerPoint and you can't figure out how to make it work. Whatever you're trying to do, add a graphic or whatever. You can go in here. You can get a PowerPoint tutor. You can get an Excel tutor, a Microsoft Word tutor. Again, all of these major areas in Microsoft are going to be represented here. Even some more obscure things, Adobe Photoshop. You want to make that perfect, you know, selfie and you're photoshopping it. You know, if you have Adobe Photoshop, well, you're spending a good bit of money to get the Adobe Photoshop. But yes, there's so many areas in here that you can explore that are available to you for tutoring. So again, something I thought that was important for you to realize with, and we'll jump out of here real quickly here, but to understand that this Smart Thinking and located in the top of every one of your courses. You got some how-tos in here, and I just gave you kind of a brief tour of what it is. but you've got those how-tos in there. Another category, let me jump back in real quickly here because I actually forgot the most important category of smart thinking. We'll go back in here. So not only are those classic academic areas, mathematics, nursing, etc., but there's one area that I think, other than the Writing Center, you should definitely use. And with that, it is the working with a tutor or career coach in the career area. So we're going to go back up, working with a career coach. You can work with a career coach. So when you work with a career, right down here, I should have gone one step further after the computers. The career coach can work with you on crafting that CV or your resume, basically both the same things. And that is essential. I have seen so many poorly written resumes or CVs that that candidate was never moved forward. Now, and I've also seen what appears to be well-intended efforts in a CV or resume where that candidate was not moved forward. What do I mean by that? Maybe it was really creative and it was, it had a cool border on it and it was on purple paper and it had pictures and graphics in there and infographics. And if it's for higher education and we're looking to hire a professor or we're looking to hire a support individual, that one is going in the non-hire pile. Because you have to be aware that each industry has its own, sometimes unwritten code about what a CV or resume should look like. And if you don't know the code, you're not going to get in. All right? So definitely, understanding those nuances in whatever industry that you're applying for, and most of you will be healthcare, okay, and most of you will be applying, which is very similar to academics. And sometimes with a healthcare resume or CV, there is a certain format that interviewers are looking for, that hiring managers are looking for, and you want to make sure that you follow that. Or maybe you've got something on there that you shouldn't have on there, or you're highlighting something. Usually the case is there's something in your background that should be on there to highlight a skill that your employer or potential employer is looking for. What you want to do in all of this, especially with resumes and CVs, in this area too, you could even do interviewing skills, interviewing practice. All of this is tremendously essential. As I mentioned, with the resume or the CV, you could have a really good employee, but they're not going to make it forward. If something on that resume or CV causes it to be moved into the I'm going to pass pile, there's no magic answer. There's no you could have a perfectly crafted CV, and it's not a silver bullet. It doesn't mean that the world is going to open up to you. But what it will mean is that one potential hurdle could be removed. And that's what it's all about. Removing as many hurdles as possible, as many roadblocks as possible to give you the greatest chances, the greatest opportunities for the things that you want. So having a nice CV is definitely one of them. Having one that's targeted towards the industry that you're looking at is definitely one of them. Having an appropriate cover letter, again, focused on that particular company, organization, in a kind of way that industry is used to, is absolutely essential. You think that sometimes it's like, oh, I want to stand out, I want to be different. It's a fine line. Yes, you want to stand out, you want to be different from the crowd, but having a resume on purple paper is probably not how you want to do it. So now, if you're in the maybe graphic arts business or some of the creative, artistic industries, maybe that's the way to go. But in healthcare, typically, no. So that's where a coach can help you. Now the college, we have what I've just showed you here, that you can have a career coach, resume coach through SmartThinking. We also have a director of career services she can do these things as well. More land-based oriented. So what's nice about Smart Thinking is it's available whenever, 24/7, all the time. So I think it's a little bit more convenient, especially if you are attracted to the online programs, online coursework. This might be a better route for you to go. Another thing I want to talk about is the interviewing practicing. So we talked about the CVs, but just being able to practice those interview skills. It's so essential. This whole process of you being interviewed is really the ability to present your best self, and authentically your best self. But you've only got a couple of hours to do it sometimes, and it's very stressful. And sometimes I feel the only way to do that is through practice. You know, to be able to practice your interviewing skills, maybe have some of your stories, you know, ready to go when they ask certain types of questions. You kind of have that in the back of your mind. You've practiced that, you've rehearsed that. Maybe you've worked, you know, with an interviewing coach on that. You know, maybe an interviewing coach has said, you know, that body language that you're using, be aware of that body language. That body language is communicating something to me. And you may think, wow, it's a lot of theater. Yeah, there's some theater involved in the interviewing process, and a lot of the successful ones know that. And it's not really about faking who you are, but again, portraying the best version of yourself to an employer. And that's all that an employer would want to do. I want to see who that person is and their skills that they have in the best light possible. I understand that, and that's what I want to see as well. If it's a nervous situation and you know, they seem unprepared, then I'm wondering, well, maybe you're going to be unprepared for this job. So, all right, well, there you go. I'll get off my soapbox there. But I think it's so important. I've seen, you know, in myself, in things that I've done, mistakes that I've made, in others, you know, and you know, if having kind of taking a step back and learning really what this whole hiring process is about, and trying to put the odds in your favor. All right, well, enough of that. Again, please check out Smart Thinking. Again, I think it's a wonderful resource for you out there. If not, check out our Director of Career Services. You can find her information on the college website. And again, this week should be pretty manageable for you guys. You're doing a great job. Some of you are taking me up on the offer to work ahead. All I ask is that if you are working ahead, and we'll pause that. If you are working ahead, that you make sure that you circle back around if there are any projects in there that require maybe a peer response or any sort of follow-up. Just make sure you circle back around when the rest of the group has gotten to that point so you can get the full points for the assignment. I think we might have one or two of those before the course ends. So this, you'll know if it says it in the instructions. Just make sure you circle back before the course ends and finish up that little piece. All right. Well, everybody have a fantastic week, and I'll check in with you next week. Thanks.